right, welcome back to the Command Your Brand Show. I'm your host, Josh Silvestro, brand ambassador of Command Your Brand, where we help CEOs and founders get on top-rated podcasts. And in this episode, I actually have a really, really amazing person I would love to talk to. I don't even know how to describe him. He's over the top, beyond Italian. I'll just say that as the first thing. He's an entrepreneur. He's been on the Inc. 5000 list 2 times. He's had sold businesses in Italy, and now is in United States. He's the vice president, if I say this correct, the vice president of American Power and Gas, which is the fastest growing gas and electrical energy company. And has made multiple 8-figure business. It's a multiple 8-figure business. So I'd like to introduce you guys to Andrea D'Agostini. So thanks for coming to the show, man.
Thank you so much, Josh. Just one specification. I have been the vice president of American Power and Gas between 2014 and 2021. And yes, we grew. I think the Tampa Bay Business Journal awarded as the fastest growing company in Florida, and I think 3rd in the United States, if memory assists me. Yeah. But I am not anymore. So I exited that company and bought other companies afterwards. And those are the ones that are in the Inc. 5000.
Well, you are just a well-known CEO and founder. So I really appreciate the time that you've taken, literally out of your busy schedule. So I really appreciate the time.
My pleasure.
So I guess what I want to kind of find out just for our audience here, can you just tell us a little bit about you and yourself and how you got into, the whole CEO entrepreneurship era? Could you, I guess, give us a little backstory about yourself?
Okay. So I started, in the arts world. I was an actor.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah. I discovered that I was an artist by exclusion. Basically, when I was in high school, I wasn't rich, so I couldn't go out with the rich people. I wasn't politically involved, so I couldn't go out with the politically involved girls. I wasn't particularly cool, so the cool kids were not doing with me. I wasn't doing drugs, so I wasn't getting anybody. So basically, I couldn't go out with any girl. So by exclusion, I was like, well, I must be an artist. And so that's how I started in the art field. So that's what I did first. My first money was made being an actor.
Wow.
Yes, it was being an actor. So I did TV shows and soap operas in Italy, and had a lot of fun in doing them. And then at a certain point, I transitioned from television, from acting to hosting. So I was a host, and I co-produced a few shows or wrote a few shows in Italy, obviously. Yeah. And in that period of time, I started to get in contact with brands that were obviously advertising, spending important budgets in television. And what it appeared to me was that the quality of the communication wasn't really good, honestly. It was kind of mediocre. Yeah. So I thought, well, maybe I can do something in that space. And so I started doing and operating in the marketing space. I exited television. I stopped working in television, and my contract ended. To be specific, my contract ended, and I was like, should I fight to get a new contract, or should I use this context that I have developed to develop something on my own? First time I was, entrepreneur. And so I had this idea to work in the music industry. And so I created what is called Aqua Tour in 2008, to basically see if I could do marketing in the music space. Out of all the things that I could have, chosen, I chose the hardest one, because doing marketing in music is not easy, but I didn't know. All I knew was art. So,
Wow.
So it did go well, way better than I thought. It went way better than I thought, because we did, basically, I found a strategy to get a lot of people to participate. And to make the long story short, we had one of the largest tours in Europe in terms of number of people participating. It was impressive. And, but I wasn't not an entrepreneur at all. So I was like, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to sell this idea, which is awesome, right? Yeah. And I went out and I found a buyer that gave me $100,000 for, oh, by the way, to start that idea, I took a loan in the bank for 25,000 euros. Yeah. And then I sold it for 100,000 euros. And I thought that I was like an absolute genius, like an absolute monster. And these guys turned around and sold it for $1.2 million, like immediately. Like they got it from me and sold it out. And so I found out that there was a lot that I didn't know. At any rate, I started in continuing in communication, and was lucky enough to create something that at that point in time was needed and wanted, which was social media content creation. At the very, very, very beginning, we're talking 2009.
Wow.
So at the very beginning of that,
yeah,
it went decently well. So I started to acquire clients like Sephora, Lacoste, Pandora, Sperry, Topsider, Sweet Year, bunch of other players. I didn't really understood what I had at that point in time, but I was doing what I could. To make the long story short, I sold that company in 2013. Again, sold it wrong, so I could have made a lot more, but I didn't.
Yeah.
And moving to the United States, I was thinking about taking some time off, but I ended up about a year later being offered to work with these guys that had a small energy company. But they were awesome. They were very entrepreneurial and dedicated, right? And you could see this greatness that was like blossoming in this group, which was called, the company is called American Power and Gas, which is an energy company that sells energy and natural gas in the Northeast. So I worked with them for several years. And thanks to the team, I talk about the stats, but the truth is that is a teamwork. That caused the growth. We got a great growth. I stayed past the pandemic. At that point, I had my green card, and I could, start again entrepreneurial activity extensively the way that I wanted to do them. And so I did. And so I took over, let's say, marketing agencies, but what I really wanted to build was and is like a platform to expand businesses, which is what we currently have right now. Like it's called Monarchy Media. And we have two brands. We have Monarchy as a brand. We have Dental Game Plan as a brand. We just launched a musician bootcamp and mapped out, which is in the music space, like how to do marketing in the music space and to train people in the music space, which is awesome. The Dental Game Plan obviously is focused on dentists as clients. And then Monarchy is the, let's say, more umbrella brand that does the strategy and takes on larger clients and things like that. So that's what we have today. And then, as you can imagine, as an entrepreneur, I expanded in other areas. So I have other businesses in the affiliate space or the technology space. And that's what we have today.
Yeah. I guess my first question, because I know you've done so much and you've probably given me your whole life story over here. You've just given me so much interesting things about a story between you've had so many companies and sold them and build them up from nothing to something. So I guess for people like who are listening, some of them are struggling, some people are like doing well, but they want to take it to the next level. Like, what do you find is the one thing that actually made the difference between, making nothing to now making 8 figures in business? Like, what do you think is I don't know if it's a one thing for you, but maybe if you want to give one thing, what would be that one thing?
The one thing is a marketing stunt. It is the one thing that made me, it's not. Yeah. You need to have a product that people need and want. You need to be able to have a team to deliver that product, and you need to be able to scale and evolve the company and change the company as you grow. Because the car that allows you to do a certain kind of a race, when the race changes, that car is no good. So you need to change the car, right? So you need to scale. I don't know that there is one thing. And I think that it's very important and relevant to share a couple of hard-earned truths. And those are the fact that rarely being an entrepreneur is without struggle. So you just struggle in a different way, but you struggle because you're always pushing the boundaries further.
Right.
Okay, so that's one point. In some rare cases, you have, but very rare, you have these like amazing synergy between your product, your price point, the way you deliver the service. Because there are basically five main areas that in building a strategy you want to look at. There's a very simple, and there's no like secret teaching here, but you need to have a niche. You need to know who you want to sell to. You need to have a price point that makes sense for that niche you want to sell to. You need to have a mechanism of delivery. And it needs to make sense. Like you need to be able to deliver something that they want at the price that they want without it costing you too much, obviously, if you will.
Yeah.
You need to have the product, and you need to have an acquisition system that is not too expensive. Like those elements together makes the business. Overarching, you need to have a team that can do the job. Now, what I have seen occurring a lot is there are more gurus than people online. So everybody's teaching something. And I don't think that makes sense in the main, because most of the time the people teaching are not quite there yet either. Mm-hmm. And so you have this world of appearances that doesn't make sense. Like Instagram's life is not real. I travel a lot to help people, and I have done between 2015 and today, I've done close to 1,600 seminars and workshops across the planet, and to help people. Okay, and so I got in communication with entrepreneurs that were successful. Not so. When I say successful, I'm referring to like just the money aspect. Okay, to be specific. Many of them had money, but they were not successful. So I met people of all kinds. Some of them were successful, some were not successful, but most of them, I found that we are losing track of what matters in building a business. What matters in building a business is not to find the gimmick that people will pay so you make money and do nothing. That is not the purpose of a business. It's like saying that the name of the game for an artist is to become very good at painting rubbish stuff so he can stop painting.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense. That's not what an entrepreneur is. An entrepreneur is there to improve society, basically, to do what he can to improve society. So I find that a lot of the stuff that is out there are the attempt to create systems to generate money without doing anything. And to me, that's the death of society. Like, you just don't have a society anymore. If the game is, you need to find ways that people will give you money without you doing anything, so you're on a beach, then we are losing track of society. I have seen stupid examples. There are many people that are using platforms like OnlyFans and things like that are generating money. Like, the money is generated because they are selling an aberration. So, just like selling drugs, selling alcohol, selling an aberration. If you have a person that is attracted to that aberration, you will get exchange for it. You will get money. Right. But when that's not a society that will survive. Can you imagine if the highest paying job is to do that type of a thing?
Oh my God.
That is the highest exchange. Then it's crazy. Then it's not sustainable, because you're selling aberration, and that will not work.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't have I don't want to insult the people that are doing it per se, but I can say that they're building a society that will not be good for them either.
Right. I think it's kind of interesting. You mentioned how an entrepreneur actually helps people, and that's their goal. And do you think what we're growing with today? Do you think it's actually the entrepreneurs that we're making today? Do you think it's actually degrading our society today? What do you think about that?
Many, because many are many, because just look what is pushed at the moment, communication-wise and advertising-wise. There is a culture, an entrepreneurial culture that is bigger than it was before, and that is positive. So are there more and better entrepreneurs than before? The answer will be yes. But the way it's done is to, in the main, like the vast majority is, discover how I went in my agency from $1,000 a month to $2 million a month without doing anything, and you don't need to know marketing. You don't have to do it's a gimmick. It's all gimmicks to get there, but we are not creating competency. We are creating
laziness
and losers.
Right.
So that's not the type of society that we want to build, for sure. But a perfect example, just looking at other historical time, is the Renaissance time in the 1400s in Italy, but started before. Like, it really started in the 200s to brew, here and there. And then it blossomed in the 1400s, which is what we call the Renaissance. Before that, there was like the Dark Ages. But in the Renaissance, what really expanded, right? They brought richness too, but what really expanded is the philosophy. Is the viewpoint that a person is there for something more than, getting money and buying a Lamborghini and taking a picture on Instagram. Okay. It was more than that. They had the Instagram at that point. But it became something more than that. And so out of the Dark Ages, which is medieval time, which is the era before, then this blossoming of culture started. And I think that that's the era that we need. And I do believe that the people that can bring that era of prosperity are the entrepreneurs, which are the new artists, in my opinion. Right? The artists were the ones that carried, and the philosopher that carried that evolution. I think the entrepreneurs are the ones that will carry it now.
Right. I know you mentioned this before, was that, in terms of success, people think, I know there's a datum that goes around that your success is dependent upon how much money you make. Could you define for me what success is by what you think it is?
That's beautiful. Yeah. So I was in a talk in Bogota some time ago, probably a year and a half ago, and they asked me the same question. And I think that it's very important to change some metrics. Like, if success is money, and that's it, then anything goes. Like, why do you have to really give a great exchange to people if you can just grab some money, and figure it out? And, then that's their problem. So if that is the standard, then we have a problem, Like, money can be a scoreboard, and of course you should have money. But what about the qualitative, not quantity, quality criteria of success? How much harmony are you actually creating? Did you know that some of the biggest money, for example, in Wall Street is made on what is called, I think in English it's translated with derivatives or derivatives. I'm not sure what is the right word in English, but basically you're betting against the market. Like, if the company loses wealth and success and the stock goes down, you win, right? So they made $1 gajillion in the economy becoming smaller. And this is only possible if you have the principle of money is the driver. So I think we will need to start to shift our metrics into quality as opposed to quantity and only quantity. So to give you an example, in, what was it? A few years ago, I think it was about 3 years ago, I was in Colombia. And this guy came to talk to me after a talk and said, hey, what you say is very, very nice, but I got to tell you, my boss, he is not a nice person, but he is like loaded. Okay? He's loaded. To me, this guy is really successful. Again, like, I understand what you're saying, but I don't see it. And I said, okay, well, let's take a look, right? Let's take a look. Is this guy, like, how is he doing physically? And he said, no, is fairly in shape, maybe a little bit overweight, but all in all, fairly okay. It's okay, good. And then he said, oh, well, I mean, he drinks a lot. That's okay. Well, then probably it's not necessarily great. Right? And then how is his relationship with his family and so on and so forth? Well, he always talk about, how important his family is, but he has girlfriends all around, like the secretary and other people are his girlfriend and so on and so forth. Okay. And how is he doing in the office? Like, do people love him in the office? No, everybody fears him because they're afraid that he will fire them and etc. So no one really wants to have anything to do with him. Okay. Is he active philanthropically and so on and so forth? He says no, and so on and so forth, right? So when you paint this picture, if the only thing that the person has is some money, but you wouldn't want to have a coffee with the guy if it wasn't because he has money. So if you remove the money from the guy, there is nothing. Then I don't think that's success at all. And unfortunately, most people that grew with that idea in mind built themselves in that direction. And I don't think that's interesting at all.
Right. No, it totally makes sense because like I find people who always like are starving for money, like they just are. They're kind of like I look at a lot of these celebrities that like are rich and they own like two, three, $4 million houses. They have 12 cars, and they're just like they're miserable. Like they make all this money and they're super miserable. They're all business owners. I think it's probably maybe two of them that I've ever seen that are actually happy with what I have. And it's not even because they made money, it's because they actually have a family or they appreciate life more. Like an example is like Ryan Reynolds, who's I love, by the way. He's like one of my favorite.
Really
He's one of my favorite. He's like an entrepreneur. He built a business from scratch, pretty much like from the dump, and like built it and sold it for like $2-3 billion to like a company. I don't know if you know, Mint Mobile is like one of them.
Yeah.
And
then he had a tequila brand, I think.
Yes, that's right.
And then he has a marketing agency. He has amazing things. I agree with you.
Yeah. And the other one too is actually funny enough. This is not someone you probably not expect, is Keanu Reeves is another good one who also has like all these other things. He's like, I only own 3 expensive things, but I appreciate them so much because I love life so much that I don't want anything else. You know what I mean? So I find that it's never the money that's really what can I create that actually will help people, and that's what I really like. And that's what I appreciate. And, you made it such a clear thing that being an entrepreneur is like being an artist and like actually paint and graft something to actually form and help people with that. I think it's such a valuable thing.
Yeah. And I would say, thank you. And I would say that that has purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Like when a painter, like even if the purpose is just to do something beautiful,
mm-hmm.
In this case, it's a business. Like imagine a business that provides for a bunch of families and you're building something that has harmony in it. And even if your product is not solving climate change and so on and so forth, even if it doesn't do that, right? It's just it's something that helps whoever your target is. And you're just creating more harmony in society. That is a very valuable contribution. And another thing is there is nothing wrong working in a company. Another false premise is that everybody needs to be an entrepreneur. It's not true. Like it's just false as a premise. It's completely false. Is the beauty of being in a team. Like me as an entrepreneur, I have been the head of the company, and I also been an employee in a company. And it's just you need to find the right team. That I think I can say where you can express yourself the best. I have some of my staff members that absolutely don't want to be entrepreneurs. They wouldn't want to, rightfully so. Yeah. Rightfully so, because being an entrepreneur is extremely hard, and you are the last one to be paid always, and you provide for everybody first, and so on and so forth, right? And you have more responsibility than anybody. So all these elements are like there is this mass communication that I do believe is profoundly at fault. It goes into propaganda more than communication, presenting these ideas. You can see it in the music industry, where all the rap songs are about, the car or the girl, or the car and the girl, and the drugs and the guns and the car and the that's like great. What's great on Instagram is basically showing what you have that others can't have.
Right.
So my car is bigger or things like that. And so people that are like trying to create something beautiful, they're like, oh, I'm not a great person because I don't have a Lamborghini,
right.
or whatever, right? Or whatever. And so it's a value attribution that is completely wrong. Mm-hmm. And an easy way to do it is to see if there is real value. If you remove the money from the equation, is there still value? Like what you're doing for another, you remove the money. Is it valuable for the other person or not? And vice versa, right? So, yeah. So it's do you have something that you would do for free? Like, do you like I would want to build a group of people that get together to accomplish a goal for free. I will do it for free. I love it. So it's fun to do, right? It's exciting. Now, do I have a company as big as Coca-Cola and or I don't know, or Boeing or whatever, Apple or whatever? I don't. Do I care? Not really. I'm enjoying what I'm doing, right? So why should I compare like this? You see, we're all pushed in that direction. Now, do I have nice things? I do. Like When I fly in a certain way because I like to. I own expensive cars, so like my daily driver is a McLaren. I don't post it online. I don't like, hey, I have a McLaren. Therefore, I am great. Because look at the door, it goes up. That's that's stupid. Like it goes in the direction. Like, what are you promoting? What you're inviting people to find gimmicks to have a thing so they can be. Because now that I have a blah, then I can be. Right? It's just irrelevant. That's not motivation. This is silly.
It almost lets people. It almost lets people down if it kind of makes sense. Like when you watch it, like, oh God, like I'm never gonna get that. Like it's impossible. Like exactly, I'm never gonna get that McLaren that Andre D'Agostini owns. It's never gonna happen.
Yeah, and nobody knows that like I don't promote it. That like if you go online, you don't see it. When people take a picture of it, I say don't tag me. Like take a picture if you want to, but I don't wanna. Like the association, like what does it mean? That if tomorrow, let's say that I have to handle something in my company, therefore I need to get rid of the McLaren and I need to get rid of this $4 million house.
Yeah.
And then what does it mean? I am not anymore. I am not because this thing is not there. Fuck that. Sorry for the bad word.
That's okay.
But it's like super. Some of the best people that I know in my hometown in Turin. There is this guy, this family that own a bakery. They make bread.
Yeah.
They're phenomenal. They're a family that is in love with one another. They're beautiful to spend time to. Everybody has a smile. And they have a bakery,
Yeah.
So what are they? Inferior because it's fantastic what they're doing. So like we're all playing a game, we're all in this like big movie that we call life, right?
Right.
The idea that, one character is more important than the other is so ridiculous. So that's my viewpoint.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting what you mentioned. It's just that you need to have a good team and just like, you're not these things that you buy and you sell and whatever. Like it's the game of life is supposed to have fun and like your activities are meant to better somebody. So I really like that point you were bringing up about that. So for people like I know there's a really bad stigma or like there's a bad what's the word? There's like bad concepts of being an entrepreneur. Oh, it's really hard. It's like it's impossible to do. Like like I'm sure you probably heard of it before, and I'm sure people will tell you I'll never be it because I'm just not good enough, and I don't have that status type thing. I guess for people who want to even just start something or really just want to get out there, maybe not start something, but they want to start their own thing. What do you suggest to those people that would be helpful for them?
Be naive. Just go.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if you need to be fully ready to do something?
Mm-hmm.
You're never going to start, Yeah. But it's true for pretty much anything. You need to worry a little bit less and risk it. There's no particular reward in waiting. I would just say, just go. And every journey of entrepreneurs that I talk to, some more successful than I am, some less successful than I am from a business standpoint, purely business standpoint.
Right.
It's so different one from the other. There were some that started because they really loved the topic that they were addressing. And they're like, oh, this is phenomenal. I'm going to do this. Some other started because it seemed a smart idea. So it's like, this is a good idea. I'm going to make money through it. And they did it. Mm-hmm. Some other started by accident. They were failing in the previous business. Like I can tell you the names of these people. For instance, Howard Payne, which was the founder of Logic, which sold for like $1 billion or $2 billion to the Japanese tobacco company. Mm-hmm. He started it with, I think, $10,000 of his own money. He was failing in the gym business that he had. He was in the middle of a divorce. I'm saying these things because they're written, just so you know. I mean, I know him personally, but he also communicated about it in podcasts. He's a wonderful guy. And he started his business as a joke, and he got to that valuation in, if I'm not mistaken, 18 months. Wow. With a small investment upfront. And they just, they just killed it. But it wasn't like, oh, I have a passion for e-cigarettes. It wasn't. It just happened that it was there. His friends started it. He kind of was there, and then he took over and ran. Another friend of mine, his name is Vic Tipness. He has Blackstone Medical. He's a very nice guy. And he started it because it seemed a smart idea. And he was, he says it very often, very broke when he started it.
Wow.
He has $75 to his name. Now he's probably, I don't know, he's probably worth 100 million or something of that nature, right?
Yeah.
So, and he started because it seemed to be a good idea. And I know other that had a passion. So the road to become an entrepreneur is very subjective. There isn't one size fits all. But if you have something, like if you have the calling, if you are excited about the idea of challenging yourself with what it takes to grow something from nothing, then what safety there is in not doing it.
Right.
I like to say to people when they talk about, their whether they should do something or not, like that, like what you're saying, is like, you are already all in life. You're already all in. It's all in. So you have nothing else to risk. Just go. Like, what's the worst thing that can happen? You might lose. Well, you know what? Most entrepreneurs lost several times before winning. So you just need to be prepared for it, or know that it can happen, and then do your best with it,
Yeah. What do you find, just because I know you've been involved a lot with different projects, what do you find is the difference between a good CEO and a bad CEO? And how can people who are bad CEOs or think that they're bad to be good CEOs?
I think it's the building of the team. Because I have people around me that are much better than me.
Really?
Almost all of them. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, do I have that level of intuition or the drive? Sure. But I have amazing people around me. Like my partner, Josh, in my marketing firms and so on, is amazing. Josh Summers, amazing. He runs the company as the CEO. And my deputy, her name is Alison Osborne. She is incredible in everything she does. My CTO, which is Mattia Rasulo, incredible in what he does. Michaela, which is our chief administrative officer, is amazing. Cole Summers, which is Josh's brother, is our chief operating officer. Amazing people to run things. My other partner, Ted McGrath, in another company that I have when we do events, he's incredible in what he does. And the team that we have built is amazing. So I really think that the quality of the team that you build is the number one. Ability to pivot without too much fear is another key component, because in business, nothing stays the same. You need to evolve it. So ability to pivot will be the second. And third, I think a good control over finances, understanding finances, would be three elements that needs to be very present. But in my experience, if you have an amazing team that delivers an amazing product, money comes as a consequence in many, many cases. You still need to have a good administration for sure.
Right.
But building the team is the thing. Building the team of excellence is one of the hardest things, in my opinion.
Wow, that's awesome. You've given me so much. I'm like, dude, now I think I want to be an entrepreneur. And I think it's true too. Like, I've always wanted, like, for me personally, I've always wanted to be an artist, but I can never figure out what type of artist I wanted to be. And I think, it's like when you mentioned before about finding your calling, that's like you find your calling for it. So I think that's really super important what you mentioned there. I think that's pretty much all I have, because I think, you're just an amazing speaker. You love to talk. So I just, I think you've answered all my questions. So before we end off, I would like to just find out, I guess, what's the best way to maybe not reach out to you, but maybe reach out to your team? Like maybe they want to get in contact with your team about, digital market, like some marketing type things. So, because I always love to appreciate help, people who come on the show, that we get help for them. So is there a good place for people to reach out to you or to your company?
Yeah. I'm writing it here in the chat. I don't know if it comes up, but info@monarchy.io will be one, or my Instagram handle that my team handles, which is Mr. D'Agostini. There you go. I put them both in the chat in case it's useful for the team. Okay.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate the time you've literally making, like, just you're doing so many good things, and you just took the time for 35 minutes or so just to talk to me. It's really great. And I think also everyone who's listening to the show, because I know people would love to build their own businesses from nothing to, 8-figure business. So I really appreciate the time Andrea has taken for answering my questions. And of course, you guys, like and subscribe to this, and definitely I'll see you in the next one. And thank you, Andrea, for joining me.
Thank you so much, guys. Have a wonderful day. Thank you. Bye.